I have no idea what Justin's listening to, but like I like to dance with him, even though I have no idea what the song is.
I think right now it's
Slayer.
Baths.
That's cool.
Are you outside?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm outside.
Oh, that's nice.
Not really. It's disgusting right now.
Dude.
Disgusting. It's 20 degrees here.
Oh well, that feels nice.
It was nice this morning. It was like upper 60s, and then by the time I left work, it was like 50. Like the cold front came in, and everything just plummeted.
Oh no, it's 72 degrees here and 84% humidity.
When?
So I have to swim through the world to get to my computer to do this lovely podcast.
Would you rather that or a half a foot of snow like I have outside right now?
Honestly, half a foot of snow.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Well, let me rephrase that. I think living in snow is awesome. I think driving and working in snow is garbage.
Yeah.
You can't have one without the other.
I know. That's why I don't live up there.
It's fun for like 2 hours, and then I'm over it.
Yeah. We got more cool weather this year than I think we have had in several years, and we had like a week straight where it was in the 50s, and it was awesome. I was like, yeah, get this every winter. Pseudo season, whatever you want to call it. But no, it's back to being pea soup, and we have to live with it. So, but we're here, we're live.
Yeah.
The group chat is on fire. The comment section is on fire.
Our usual suspects: see Adam Ivory, Dustin Black, Sean McCarthy, who's up in Ontario.
Both the Canadians in the chat.
I haven't seen Gillen yet.
Okay,
he's around here somewhere though. I'm
fashionably late.
That's right.
I like how Niserg says, "I'm here to say hello to Phil," and just Phil.
Yep. What a guy.
Oh man, bringing the spice from the east.
I mean, hey, so we got we have an episode of Arachners later this week that should be very good.
Excellent.
I will say that. I don't know why he's disowning me like that, but whatever. See how it is. Mike Kosicki, what's going on? Tyson Dallas, all that good stuff. Yeah, so episode 229 of Snakes and Stogies brought to you by blackboxcages.com. Racks, cages, the best around. You need racks, get some racks. You need cages, get cages. You don't like racks, don't get racks. You don't like cages, get racks. It doesn't, whatever you want, they got it.
Yeah.
High quality, fast turnaround. You won't be disappointed. When we say that their stuff is top notch, we absolutely mean it.
I'm gonna do a plug that is completely unsolicited, right? Obviously, Black Box is our sponsor. We love them dearly. We stand by the product. We always say that if we didn't love the product, we wouldn't let it sponsor us. Did I phrase that correctly?
Correct.
So all my Black Boxes are sliding glass with locks because they're awesome and they made them for me. Because it's all venomous stuff. And I'm a stickler about taking the glass out nice. Or is it even glass? I think is it acrylic?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I haven't gotten a slider from them yet.
It's not. I don't think it's glass. Now that I think
I'm not crazy about sliders, if we're being honest.
Well, I mean, I got to do it. It's just it's in my nature. But I'm a stickler about how the glass comes out, right? And I have 2 cages that have had snakes in them for well over a year now, and I've not taken the glass out. I've cleaned it, right? But I've not physically removed it because I wanted to see how the PVC would sag like a vision cage, or if it flowed from the heating elements or the humidity or whatever. Not a single hiccup. Literally 2 fingers, popped it out, cleaned it, popped it back in. No, like obviously there's gonna be sand and substrate. It gets in the track, it happens, but
it's inevitable.
The fitment of the glass to the track is so good that it was barely a dusting of substrate in the track. So just wanted to give an actual non-solicited shout out. I mean it is solicited, but you know what I mean. So yes, if you need a slider and you want a good slider, Black Box sliders.
I did talk to Jen earlier about a new promo code. I think she's gonna update it to be THN25.
Cool.
So if you try that and it doesn't work, let us know. If not, try THN24. I don't know if that one's still valid or not. Either way, if you put it in and it's not cooperating, let us know, and we will get Jen to work whatever magic she needs to work. But blackboxcages.com, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. Fulviusapparel.com. Use the code THN at checkout. Get 15% off your order. I got some other stuff I plan to add to the site here soon. I've been slowly working on a handful of designs. The mountain of unfinished files is ridiculous. But
It's better than having
slowly,
none at all. It's good.
I'm slowly coming back around and finishing them because I have the 2 MacBooks now. I have my old one and I have my new one, and my old one is the one that I use for this and has a lot of unfinished business on it. So I'll periodically creep through my desktop folders and stuff and be like, oh yeah, I forgot about that one. I gotta finish it.
Forgive me for being a bad friend. Is the Swamp Lion up and running?
It is.
Excellent.
It is.
Excellent. Good. Yes.
And it had some takers pretty much right off the rip. So
Hell yeah.
That makes me happy.
Swamp Lions for life.
Had a few designs that I put up, and I don't think I've sold a single one yet. And it's been like a year and a half, but whatever. I don't have to sit on the inventory, so I can put up as many designs as I want to, whether or not they, sell or not, whatever. But either way, I did mention on Thursday that prices did have to go up out of necessity. So if you've noticed that things are more expensive than they were, it's not much. I didn't want to go up, but I have no choice. That is a thing now, but the code still works. The 15% off is still there. All that good stuff. So THN at checkout. Check it out. And then Cold-Blooded Caffeine, best coffee around. Rwanda and Mexico. Let me see. I got it right here.
Give it a shake.
Coming together in a singular bag. Who would have thunk it?
Oh, nice.
Those beautiful, beautiful beans.
Use the code SMOKE at checkout. Also get a little discount. The Snakes and Stogies blend, many other blends like it, available, coldbloodedcaffeine.com. I believe they have assortment of mugs and stuff now as well. I think they've sort of expanded upon those a little bit.
They beefed up the merch.
That's right.
They still have the different like coffee pots and stuff, right?
Yeah, like pour overs and things like that. Yeah. As far as I know.
Excellent.
Yeah. So all are awesome. Check them all out. Is there anything new down your way?
No. I checked the Fuscus and they both shed, and they both have been emerged from their black plastic hide box, and they're just sitting there chilling. So if something did happen when I wasn't looking, I have no idea. But I think this coming week I'm gonna split them up, give them a meal, see what the girl does, and go from there. And I'm gonna slowly start beefing up temps to normal summer temps, because I mean it's already warmed up here. And hopefully in the next 2 months, maybe put some wrinkles together. See what happens.
Do it.
See what happens. Other than that, man, status quo. No news is good news.
That's right. I for a brief 24-hour period thought that maybe I had a conjure that was gravid, but it was a false alarm.
She pooped?
No, and just from the way she was perched, I was like, man, she looks a little like that last third. I was like, she looks like maybe she's got something going on, whether it was follicles or, possibly early signs of eggs happening or something. But I took her out and checked, and it wasn't the case.
Is the boy still with her?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been with her for, it's been, I don't know, probably at least 2 months now. Full time. So they're cuddled up all the time. So I think they're trying. Just he's trying. I don't think she cares either way, but maybe, hopefully. And then this morning because I turn off all my lights and turn them on manually. I don't like the automatic thing.
Same.
So I went in this morning and turned everything on and heard some rustling around. I was like, what the hell is that? And I look up, and the male rhino is chasing the female around like crazy. So I think we had like a week of warm weather, like almost 80 this past week. And I think that maybe that kind of flipped a switch in them or something. But need
Cool.
to offer him food, because if he goes off food, then that means we're getting to be in that time. So he was chasing her around, which is interesting because I haven't seen him do that in a long time.
Excellent.
Other than that, I think I have 1 or 2 baby rhinos that are available and ready to go. If anyone's interested, I've got a couple that are still holding out on taking mice, and then I've got a couple that are spoken for. So
They starting to turn green yet?
no, not really.
Okay.
It usually takes about
I didn't know
a
how
year.
long. Okay.
About that first year, you get to that 9-month mark or so, then it starts to kind of creep in.
Is it gradual like chondros, or is it just like shed and then boom, green?
No, it's very gradual.
Okay.
It's very, very, I won't say subtle, but it definitely isn't like some of the green trees where it's like you wake up one morning and all of a sudden it's a different snake. So the ones that are eating mice are hammering them now, and I'm confident that they're ready to go. So
Nice.
if anyone's interested, hit me up. And that's pretty much the extent of it. I rehoused some tarantulas over the weekend.
Nice. I saw your little coffin case. That was cool.
Which one?
Didn't you in the Arachnids group chat? Didn't you post a video? Was that you? Or
Oh, that was me. That was Phil King.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I haven't gotten my hands on some of those.
I got to be honest. Those coffin cases, like, to me, I mean, I like the idea of it's like a coffin. It's creepy. Like, that's cool, but it's not my thing. But the quality of the company that makes those with the little magnets, that is really good stuff, man.
Yeah, the Tarantula Crib stuff, he makes very, very nice stuff. And I mean, yes, it is as far as like price wise compared to other stuff on the market. I mean, if you're comparing it to like the cheap Chinese Amazon stuff, like it's light years better.
Yeah.
Like you're very clearly paying for what you get with those. But yeah, the Tarantula Crib stuff is just, I have 2, 3. And one of them, Casey Cannon, got me for the Secret Santa thing, and I don't have anything to put in it, and I'm really irritated because it's a really nice, one of the small hexagons, and I don't have anything to put in it. I thought about putting the Isometrics group, all those Scorplings together, because they're not growing. Like I don't.
Are they not? Are they gonna be able to get out of the holes though?
That's the problem. Is I looked at them. I think they could, so I don't think I'm going to use it for that. But
you might want to do some cheesecloth, like just a strip of cheesecloth with like some liquid acrylic, just smear.
Yeah, or I could just somehow get my hands on an ornata and put it in there.
Word up.
All the facility area, gotta have them.
You and your damn tree spiders.
Boy, oof. It's a problem. I want them all.
It's like fucking Pokemon.
It is. Yup. But yeah, that's the extent of it. Like I said, had to bump some stuff up into bigger enclosures, and then I'm gonna have to rehouse the female striata again into something a little more sturdy, because what she's in now I don't trust to stay together long term, because it is one of those cheaper acrylic enclosures.
What, you think she's gonna gnaw through it?
No, it's warping like badly, and so all that humidity and stuff is seeping out real quick. I got to rehouse that apophysis. I'm working on. I need to get a piece of glass cut for a 10-gallon, because I'm just going to go ahead and bump it up to an aquarium instead of that. I got that display case thing I used that I was talking about from Hobby Lobby, and that's done well. It's just bowing as well on all the sides.
It was for like that kind of car, right?
This was for like football helmets. Like it's big.
Oh, okay, cool.
But that little monster molted again, and I can't tell exactly how big it is now because I haven't seen it since it did it. I've just seen legs, and from what I've seen from that, like it got some size on it. So I have an empty 10-gallon. I just need to get the lid situation figured out and make that happen, and that'll be an interesting rehouse with all the hair. So
cool, man. Just like those yellow dishwashing gloves, and go for gold. That's it.
That's what's gonna have to happen. It's gonna be like a hazmat type deal. Goggles,
the rebreather, doing this,
dude, for real, man. Like That thing, like you just look at it wrong and it just starts flinging hair like crazy. And it's
Smitty, where'd you get a Geiger counter?
yeah. Why do you have that?
Yeah, why do you have that?
What are you smoking this evening?
I cannot get enough of the Veterans Tobacco. So Veterans Tobacco, True Believer, Box Press Toro, it's great, man. This is not the Snakes and Stogies blend. This is the True Believer blend, excuse me. But yeah, anybody who wants a good solid smoke that's not a lot of money, Veterans of Tobacco.
Snakes and Stogies blend is good though. I got nothing but compliments on that.
Oh yeah, everyone loves it. So we're definitely gonna do another batch this year and have the freaking bands put on correctly. So I already talked to my guy, and what's that?
Make it official.
Yeah, legit. Make it official. So, and yourself?
Trey, my partner in crime with Low Country Cigar Club, gave me this. It's some sort of diesel. I don't know which one, but I'm gonna give it a shot. I think this is a 7 by 58 maybe.
Is that a tapered roll?
No.
Oh, sorry, just angles.
Standard.
Okay.
But in this upcoming box, you get a pair of these scissor cutters.
Shears. Look at that.
And it comes with like a leather case that I engraved all of them.
Very cool.
So if you haven't used, they do make scissor cutters. You don't see them terribly often. They're not that common. They're nice because if you have something that's like a ridiculously huge ring gauge, it's not an issue. You can do lance arrows, you can do 880s, whatever you wanted to do. But it works the same way. If anything, it's a little trickier because you can go too far with those. It's a little messier, but it's nice. It's nifty. It's handy.
I really like those with torpedoes because you could just take just the tip of the torpedo off.
Yep. Or as much as you need to.
Right.
Because I find if you're using like the one-sided cutters, you got to cut it like 6 times to get it to where you want to because, it's the solid back. You don't have can't put it all the way through. So.
Yep.
Yeah. lowcountrycigarclub.com.
Excellent. And EmmaLee, are you imbibing any adult vices this evening?
No. So I did come prepared though, because I've been listening to Snakes and Stogies for a while, and I was like, I have to have something. Hear me out. Snakes and saltines. Is that
yes?
Love it. Okay.
Love it.
All right. I was gonna do snakes and seltzer, but then I was like, no, I'll just be burping the whole time. So saltines.
There's a mute button. It's cool. That's good. I like that. Snakes and saltines. Well, thank you for thinking of us in that capacity.
Yeah.
I love it. So yes, tonight our guest is EmmaLee. EmmaLee, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You reached out to me. Was it like a year ago?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You reached out to me about a year ago, basically saying, "Hey, I have some West African green mambas, and I want to pair them." Blah blah blah. And you and I got to chatting, and we had to have you on, especially since you just hit me up sending me pictures of little green tails intertwined. So that's like golf clap to you, my dear.
Thank you.
And we love Veritas. So
we do love Veritas. We do.
Oh yeah,
hands down. I was going to ask you. We're obviously going to get into this and go deep diving all your venomous and stuff like that. But did the male go through any hormonal color changes?
So it's funny you say that. I wanted to bring that up because I'm pretty sure it was you. You said a long, long time ago that you had a male and he turned blue and you didn't realize that was his hormonal shift.
Yeah.
And when I decided that I wanted to start breeding ours, I reached out to a few people just asking questions about anyone who was breeding mambas, if they had any information for me.
Yeah.
And one of the gentlemen that I spoke with, he said he had a pair and they bred pretty regularly and his did not turn blue. So I was just like, maybe there's something wrong with mine. I'm not sure. And ours did not have any change to himself physically, but behaviorally, he had a complete 180. It was almost scary working with him. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure he was imported and he came very sickly, very skinny. He had bruising all over his neck. And I love to make snakes fat. So I fed him up, put him with the female, and he got to the point where he was a good weight, and he was always a little bit timid, but he was workable. And then once I started cooling him down, I changed the timer for his lights so that it was a shorter day. I decreased the humidity and decreased feeding, and suddenly he became an asshole. And
Really?
I was just like, it's a little scary working with him. And I installed a shift box so that I didn't actually have to go in there, because
Sure.
he and the female worked together, and it was just, he was a psycho. And when I reached out to a few people, they were just like, no, that's what you want. You want to see that. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So nothing ended up happening last year, but then this year I did the same thing, and they're kind of naturally going off food on their own, which is, I feel like it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then I saw them breeding. So I think
Excellent.
I didn't get
Yeah.
the color shift, but
I'm actually wondering if the color shift is a wild thing, much like a Bronia graminia, where a Bronia graminia in the wild, they're lime green. And then when you bring them into captivity, for whatever reason, they turn blue. A handful of them turn blue. I feel like it's almost the opposite with the viridis, where we would get imports in, and it'd be out of 10 mambas, 3 or 4 would be yellow, 3 or 4 would be blue, the rest would be green, whatever. And I took that blue one home and it turned green. And then when I had removed that blue one, the other one that was yellow in there also turned green. That turned out to be a girl. And I'm wondering if it's either a wild thing where they're in the wild, the natural sun, whatever it may be, or is it a competition thing? So if there's 3 or 4 other girls and one boy, I need to stand out amongst the other girls, so I'm going to turn yellow. Or maybe there's 3 or 4 other boys and one girl, I need to stand out to this young lady, I need to turn blue. And I don't know if that's the case, because I haven't had enough of them for long enough, but that was the only time I'd ever seen those crazy colors like that.
Did I
Yeah.
ask you do you know how old that one was? The blue
Mine?
one? Yeah.
Oh no, man! It was like 6.5 foot, and they're all wild caught, all of them. And then that bruising on the neck, that's actually from excuse me, that's from a
tongs.
noose.
Yeah, I figured it was something like that. Yeah.
Almost every import one has some black scalation or like rough scars on their neck, because they basically take a monofilament, plastic filament fishing line, and they line it up a tree, up a stick, a branch of a tree, and they make a noose out of it. That's how they catch them.
Got it.
Kind of messed up, but at least we get to give them a happy life.
Yeah.
Well, I asked about the age thing because I may have asked before. I honestly don't remember, but I wonder if the blue thing is just because it was an older animal.
I mean, I thought about that too, but it went to green. It went back to green. So I was like, well, maybe if it's geriatric and blue hair, if you will, I imagine it would have stayed blue, right? I mean, I don't know about the graminia. I'm pretty sure the graminia has to do with nutrient intake from the bugs they're eating in the wild, opposed to us feeding, farm crickets. But you'd have to talk to Manny or Tiki or one of those Abronia guys to really know, or one of the Highlands and Islands guys to really know, because it's above my pay grade. But so, EmmaLee, you want to give us like a rundown, like give us all that is you and how you got into this, and how you went from being a small human to breeding mambas?
I'm not really sure. I knew that I always wanted to be in the animal field forever. My dad was really into animals when I was little, so we had all sorts of cool things. He was a herp guy, and he passed away a long time ago, but I guess I just decided that I was going to keep up with the animal thing.
Hell
so
yeah.
I went to school, and I know my mom really wanted me to go into like engineering, which I was very interested in. But when I was in college, a woman walked into the main eating area. It wasn't really the cafeteria, but like a common area. And she was holding a baby kangaroo. And I was like, whatever that woman does is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so I just went right up to her, and I was just like, I don't know what it is you do, but I want in. So she gave me an internship at her zoo, and I just took a deep dive into the zoo community, and I've been in the zoo field ever since.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
So did you wind up going to school for zoo sciences or biology or anything like that, or no?
Yeah, so I majored in biology and conservation. And the thing about conservation is the majority of it isn't glamorous fieldwork. It's legislation and networking and working with making new laws and boring stuff like that. So I found it a lot more rewarding to actually work with animals and do animal education. So I had a educator role at that first zoo that I worked at, which was the woman with the kangaroo. It was her zoo. I worked there for about 3 years, and then I got a job in Massachusetts working for rainforest reptiles. And I did outreach education pretty much all day, every day, and it was exclusively with reptiles. And the owner, he did ask if I was interested in working with venomous, and I wasn't that interested. I was really interested in the crocodilians and the big snakes and the lizards. And after I got to know them, he was just like, well, let me teach you how to work with venomous snakes, just in case anything happens while you're here, you would be able to handle it. And something did end up happening. It was no fault of the keeper, but when he put an aquarium back on the shelf, it broke the latch. And one of our little, I think it was a Western Diamondback, he got loose. And I noticed it. I was walking around doing morning checks and I saw a poop where it wasn't supposed to be. And I was like, oh no, that's not supposed to be there. I checked every single one of the venomous enclosures and I saw that the lid had popped off. And my boss was just like, okay, go and find it and be careful. Don't put your hands anywhere they don't belong.
Yeah.
So I found it. I picked it up with a hook. I put it back. And then he was just like, from now on, I want you to do more with the venomous because that was a really good job. I like the way you approached that. And I became pretty obsessed with venomous after that.
That's how it happens. It just, you get the, I should learn a little something. And then boom, just addict, done.
Yeah. Oh
Just
yeah.
needle in the arm.
Mm-hmm. And they're the favorite, or my personal favorite, out of everything that I work with. So since I'm the head of animal care where I am now, I get to work with pretty much everything. But I'm the only one who works with the venomous. They're my thing, my baby. I'm obsessed with them. That's the majority of what I do in a day.
That's great.
Oh,
So
yeah.
how do you, when people ask about that, like people that aren't into the hobby and stuff, and you tell them that you work with venomous, like what's your, not your justification, but like how do you go about explaining it to people in a way that maybe makes sense to them? Because that was always the hardest part for me, and why I just never really told people that I kept venomous. When I keep snakes. Oh, do you keep anything dangerous? So I just say no. And it's like, I keep some, but I'm not gonna. I know where that conversation is gonna go, and I didn't have any real interest in having it. So like when you are talking to people about that, and they, you bring that up, like what are you usually telling them to where maybe it makes sense in their minds?
I usually just tell them it's an honor to get to work with them. I mean, you have this animal that is capable of so much harm, and it could obviously inflict a ton of damage. And here it is peacefully just sitting there. I'm respecting its space. It's not getting upset. I'm able to hook it and not make it agitated in any way, safely put it in a bin. It doesn't rattle. It doesn't hiss or spit, although I have been spit at quite a few times. But it's just existing, and it feels like an honor when I get to do that. My goal is to just make this animal feel as happy and comfortable as possible. And I also point out to people too that they deserve just as much love as the cute and fuzzy animals do, you know? It's a little cliche. Yeah.
Preach. Yeah, it's tough, man. And I think you saying just that is exactly what we all should be saying. A lot of times it doesn't go that way, but it's good. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, it was just like, I know exactly where the conversation is going to go, and they're going to look at you like you're nuts. And it doesn't matter what you tell them, you're still going to get the oh, okay, like,
yeah. I mean, I've had people tell me I'm nuts. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
And so that's like, I just got to the point where I was like, I'm just going to forego this whole part of this conversation and be like, yeah, I keep snakes.
Yeah.
None of them are
I will say
dangerous,
this though, at least she works at a facility. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And because I feel like it's almost always followed up with, so they're just like in your house. They're just like loose in your bathroom.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, just fluffy under the bed. Like, no, man, come on. It always made me wonder, like, when people tell you other things, like they're like,
That's how
Oh,
I
what do
keep
you
my
for
too.
what do you do for fun? Oh, I like to work on vintage cars. Oh yeah? Do you just like leave them in your living room?
Right.
Like I don't know where that mindset came
Work on
from.
the
but-
engine block in your bathtub.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, what do you like to do for hobby? Oh, I like RC cars. Yeah? Do you drive one to work? Like, what? What? Like, yeah. Anyway.
I don't know where that idea came from though. I'm curious because like
Yeah, it's like
is it that episode of Cops with the dude with the boas?
no, I think
throwing
it has to
around
do
his
with
house and the closets and stuff that people are like.
no,
They all do it now.
no. I think it goes back to dogs and cats because dogs and cats.
It's the only
you
frame of
like-
reference.
Right. It's the only frame of reference. Right. And they're like, but at the same time, people have hamsters and people have goldfish and they have parakeets. And it's like, you don't let your parakeet. Well, I guess you could let your parakeet.
My
fly
cousin
around
had a
your house,
hamster
but-
that was free ranging by accident, and it ended up under the recliner,
Oh, geez.
and
Oops.
was no
Yep.
more.
Oof.
Not
Oof.
by me, by my aunt.
Oh.
Cousin was devastated.
Ugh. God. Just little fur ball. Just ugh.
My cousin had a finch in a bird cage, right? And she had one of the corn snakes that me and my dad had produced however many years ago, right? And it got loose once she couldn't find it. And then one day she realized how quiet the house was.
Oh no.
She went and looked, and that corn snake had eaten that finch, was just chilling in the water bowl. It couldn't even get out of the cage because of how big that meal was.
Yeah.
She wasn't happy about it. I thought it was hilarious. But
We had when I worked at Strictly, one of the girls that worked in the office who's like a order fulfillment computer employee, and she liked animals and she had pet snakes, she had pet everything. She worked at Strictly, for crying out loud, but she bred sugar gliders. It was like her side gig. And I guess they were doing something in her house where they were fumigating or something, and it wasn't good for the gliders. So the owner of Strictly was like, oh yeah, you can bring them here, just wheel the cages up the ramp and put them in one of the side rooms, whatever. Well, she put them in the boa room, and my buddy Chris came in and he ran the boa room and he flipped the lights on, and there were like the 3 or 4 sugar glider cages. He's like, what the hell are these doing here? And in the one cage was, I don't remember, like an Amazon tree boa or something that had like 3 or 4 lumps in it, and it just murdered like 10 sugar gliders. And all I could think of was that's the most diesel tree boa ever, that it took on a battalion of sugar gliders. It's horrible. Yeah. Oh man. So do you keep stuff at home, or because you work in Zoo Field, you keep it separate?
So in Connecticut, you can't really have anything venomous. So I am just really lucky that pretty much any dream snake that I want, I just get at the zoo. And then
Nice.
I have a whole team who can take care of it for me, and I just get to enjoy it.
That's like the dream job. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
It's very glamorous.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. But do you keep any harmless stuff at home or no?
I have turtles. I have my spider right there. And upstairs, I have 2 Egyptian tortoises. And downstairs, I have 4 Indian spotted pond turtles. And then I'll be getting a hingeback soon. So
yeah.
Nice. Connexus. And the spotted ponds Hamiltoni?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Nice. So what kind of Connexus are you getting?
Erosa.
Nice.
Yeah.
You already got a breeder lined up?
Yeah, it's hopefully going to be shipping out soon. I think he's based in Florida. I know you know him. His
Jeremy.
name. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Jeremy. Of course
Yeah.
it is. Connexus Army.
Yeah, I wanted
That's
it
awesome.
sometime, I think at the end of last year when I reached out to him. So I started setting up a Viv sometime last year. So it's ready to go. It's got all the plants have grown in nicely. And I did have isopods in there, and I forgot to water it. So they're all dead. But everything else in my Viv is ready to go. So
Very cool. Very cool. You get a little baby or no?
yeah. Yep.
Nice.
He's gonna make pictures
Excellent.
the other day. I feel like a proud mom every time I see pictures.
That's good. Yeah, he's good about keeping you up to date with the progress of the hatchlings. Yeah, Jeremy's the man. Good stuff.
I love Connexus.
Well, my fiance is in the group chat. She says, good evening. We put her gecko on substrate, and it is crazy the color difference of like looking at the gecko on paper towels, and now it's like bigger, and put some sand in there, and like, dude, I forget how awesome leopard geckos are. and like all the other animals we have, and it's like it's just cool. And the thing's a lunatic, and it screams at us and tries to attack my shoes through the glass. So even better. Yeah. So we also found out that I found out, excuse me, I'm behind the time. Emily's on a podcast.
Mhm. Yeah.
Talk about that.
The Pondcast. It's
The Pondcast.
Yeah, it's part of the Turtle Room. So for those of you who don't know what the Turtle Room is, they're I guess international turtle conservation, and the Pondcast. We just talk about all things turtle related. We talk about other reptiles every once in a while, but it's mostly turtle based. Hence why I have so many turtles. I guess in the span of things, I don't really have that many turtles, but it's me and Steve Enders and Anthony Pierleone, who I know. I think has he been on this show before?
He's been on one of them. I don't think he's been on this. He's been on
One of them.
THP.
Yeah, he's been on
Okay.
THP.
Got it. Yeah.
It's to the point to where I can't keep up anymore. I don't
I know,
know.
right?
Yeah, you have a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
Or podcasts, I mean. You guys have a lot of podcasts between the two of you.
We're trying.
With the Indians, I mean, I guess turtles and tortoises, period. Like that's the one thing that's sort of held me back there, aside from my wife, is just the space you have to dedicate to it.
Mhm.
With the Indians in particular, like water turtles and stuff, what's your setups like with those? Is it pretty heavy duty?
Not right now. They're still just babies. They're hatchlings,
Okay.
and I got them just last year. And they're all really tiny, so I just have them in a tank right now. And once they're bigger, though, I probably am going to get something like one of those 300-gallon stock tanks or something like that, and throw an FX filter in there, something like that. But I would like that because then I can just drain it out and then throw it outside during the summer.
Mhm.
I would have ideally would like to make a pond for them, but I know inevitably, because I'm in New England, I'll have to bring them in during the winter. So
Yeah.
I think a waterland, or not a waterland tub, but just one of those stock tanks would probably be the best way to go.
Yeah.
And I have 4 of them. I think they're not supposed to go together when they're adults, so I'll have to have a really big basement.
I don't even know how big adults are in those. Are they
Hella
not, like,
big?
massive? Are they?
Yeah.
Which species?
The
The
Hamilton.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
they're huge.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I gotta
way
Google.
bigger than a slider.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I
would
saw
say-
a
What is it?
female around.
Double the size of the biggest slider.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I held a really big female, and it took 2 hands. So, yeah.
I mean, at least what, 8 to 10 pounds.
Oh, I see it now. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that ain't
Super
that ain't
cool.
little.
They're
Super
so
cool.
stunning.
And they're so stupid cute when they're little babies and they're the size of a silver dollar. And you're like, how is this going to turn into this monster spotted football?
I know, and their little razorback shell.
Yeah, super cute.
hmm
So turtles at home, snakes at work.
Oh yeah. I think
Very
those are my 2 things. Those monitor lizards I'm getting a lot more into, and I want to be a lot more interested in crocodilians than I am, but yeah, it's just mostly just monitors and snakes and turtles.
Very cool. So the zoo you're at now, what's that one called?
Riverside Reptiles Education Center.
Nice. So, and this is purely reptiles and amphibians?
We do have some fish too. I went on a fish kick, and we have an alligator gar and a pufferfish, an electric catfish, an electric eel, and I feel like we have one more fish that I'm forgetting.
That's crazy. What's it like dealing with the electric stuff?
I didn't know there was electric catfish.
Yeah.
Exhilarating. I have tried to get shocked by the electric catfish so many times. I've gone in and poked him because I'm like, I just have to know what it feels like, right? So I've poked him, not to the point where I'm harassing him so that I'll get the full shock, but I've poked him enough. I've touched him, pet him, and he hasn't shocked me, but he has shocked some of my coworkers. And the word they used to describe it was a substantial shock. And it was so loud that when they were netting him out, you could hear the shock. That's how intense it was. Yeah.
Wow. That's wild, man. And
I
like
didn't
I've seen
know
some
there was electric catfish. I had no idea.
there's some eel footage on YouTube of like guys getting hit in like a canal and like falling over dead.
I loved it. This is
That's
an
I
older
mean,
dude. He didn't
yeah.
die, but he got
He didn't
absolutely
die? Oh,
torched
man,
by
I
that thing. He walked
so
up to the net and grabbed it and just froze, and then just like went right.
So I've always thought they were lethal. They're not lethal?
I think they can be if they're big enough.
Yeah, they can be when they're full-grown adults, especially if you're prone to heart issues. But
Wow.
ours is still young. I would say he's maybe like a 1.5 to 2 feet long. Yeah,
That's
so
wild.
not enough that he could kill me, but he could definitely give me a bad day. So for the electric eel, I don't tempt fate.
Yeah, yeah. So when you're cleaning the tank, are you wearing like galvanized gloves or are you just reaching in like normal and crossing your fingers or
With the catfish, I do like to play games, yes.
okay.
But with the electric eel, I'm a little bit more respectful. His name is Elon. I know that's not the most popular name
Nice.
right now.
Nice.
I suggested Eleanor Roosevelt, but everyone chose Elon. So anyway, what
Eleanor Roosevelt's pretty good. That's pretty. Is it a girl?
we don't know.
Oh, okay.
It's just because he came pretty small, so whatever.
Okay.
But we have those gloves that linemen work when they're working on the power lines. We have those, and just because I'm a little bit of a safety freak when it comes to my team, I require that everyone wears those, especially because we tong feed him with metal tongs, and that's definitely tempting fate.
Yeah.
So it's a good practice.
Interesting. So then you mentioned netting them out. So when you guys do, forgive me if I'm getting too technical, but is there a sand substrate? Is there a stone substrate? Is it glass bottom? Like obviously it's on display. You want it to be aesthetically pleasing. Like how do you guys do water changes and stuff? Is it just gloves and hose and go like normal or?
No, I love the technical questions. So
Yeah.
he has a sand substrate and he does have a few rocks that are just there for ornamental
Decoration.
purposes.
Yeah.
But I did notice that because obviously they have poor eyesight, he has bumped into them before and actually injured himself. So I like having pretty minimal furniture in there, but extra plants just to make it look a little bit nice and to make him feel more comfortable. So I think it's just one really big ornate branch and then a couple, I forget what it's called. It's like that eelgrass stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do water changes, depending on how big of a water change, we either net him out and put him in a bucket, or we just leave him in there and we just drop the sump pump straight in. But it's really stressful to him to have the pump running. So most of the time we just take him out. It's easier.
Yeah, I imagine it's hard to siphon through sand as it is, let alone with a multiple foot long electric eel.
Mm-hmm. Actually, so my venomous reflexes came in handy once because we opened the bucket and there was another keeper there with me and she was about to put him back and they're escape artists. His thing is completely escape proof, but that's one thing that we kept hearing from pretty much everyone is they are escape artists. You have to make sure they're fully secure. So we took the lid off the bucket and he jumped out. And luckily the keeper who was standing closer, she had the electric gloves on and she went to grab him. But my venomous training was just like, no, we don't touch that with our hands. No. So I saved myself from accidentally reaching in and grabbing it. So we got a net, put him in the net and put him right back in and he was fine. But it can be hairy working with him, but he's not the most dangerous thing we have. Yeah.
Yeah, still, I mean, I guess maybe just because I'm so unfamiliar with it, it's very, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about like the net itself is plastic, right?
Yeah, it's just a standard aquarium net because he's still small enough he can fit in
Okay.
there, but it has a plastic handle. And then just to be extra safe, whenever we're doing anything with him, I have my team wear those gloves regardless. So I think you're technically supposed to have rubber bottom shoes, but like I keep saying, he's still on the smallish side. Yeah, that's what I've heard. I saw that in a few sources when I was looking up husbandry.
Wow.
Should have named him Dr. Watts.
Oh man.
I have a beta named Frank Sinatra.
You would. Oh man.
Oh, as far as venomous stuff goes, what's your What's your favorite out of all of it? I know that's probably a really tough decision, but I mean, obviously you like mambas, but do you prefer lapids over other stuff? Do you prefer, crotalids, that kind of, what's the preference?
Crotalids are my favorite. Depending on what day of the week you ask me, my favorite snake is going to change. Obviously, I know that my top favorites are, we have a big Eastern Diamondback, and he's about 11 pounds. He's a monster, and he is albino, so he doesn't have the best eyesight. And for some reason, it seems like his heat pits don't always work that great. And it makes it a little hairy working with him, but I love him so much. He is such an honor to work with. I think one of my favorites is, we just got an Insularis, and she is a little baby, and she thinks she's a king cobra. Like, when she strikes, she wants to kill me, but she's like this big, right? It's so wonderful. She is a tiny baby, and I love her. Let's see, who's another one of my favorites? We have a red spitting cobra. I have a love-hate relationship with him. He's just predictably unpredictable. So sometimes he's great to work with, a perfect angel, and sometimes he comes out teeth first, spitting at everything and trying to bite the hook. So that dictates whether or not I like him that week. I have a little Western Diamondback rattlesnake, and I am obsessed with him. I tell everyone he's my biological son. We got him as a baby, and he was just a surrendered pet. And I just fell in love with him. He has this giant bulbous face for some reason, and we're not really sure why, but that's how he came. And he never grew into it. It's still too big for his face. So for some reason, he's just my favorite. He's also terribly behaved, but I like him a lot. And then, let's see. I also have a love-hate relationship with our king cobra. Her name is Eve, and she's about 8 feet long. And sometimes she's a perfect angel, and sometimes she is the devil. So those are a few of my favorites, I guess.
Is there any noticeable, like, on the days that the king is difficult? Anything in particular that you could think of that causes that, or does it seem to be completely random?
Behaviorally, I think the thing that affects that the most would probably be, I'm trying to think. I know that obviously my energy definitely affects how the snakes are. If I go in there and I'm in a rush and I've got things to do and I don't have enough time to take my time, and like, I need you on the hook now, obviously that's going to affect how the snakes react to me. But for her, if I have to go in and do some quick routine maintenance, anything like that, I have a shift box for her. She figured out that when I open the door, she could just go past me and then go out the door. So the shift box is just, it's a lot easier to work with her, especially if I'm in a rush. And she knows I open the shift box. I usually scent the box with a mouse beforehand. She'll go in, I shut it, put food in there, hurry up, do my business for her, and then open the door, let her back out. But sometimes
is your shift box accessible from the outside of the enclosure?
Yep.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. I designed it so that it's like that hangman type door where I can just drop it down from the top. And then I have a window on it so I can verify she's 100% in there, because sometimes her tails, she likes to play games with her tail and stick it out there.
Just testing.
And I know it's annoying because I can see her in the slot where I put the door, and sometimes she'll stand there and look up at me and like stick her tongue out the hole, and I'm just like, just go in your box, please. There's all I ask of you. So to answer your question, what's dictating whether or not she's in a good mood? If I'm using the shift box, there's no way I could be affecting her going in the box. So sometimes I think she just wakes up in a mood. I'm not certain. If you have any advice, please, I'm an open book.
Yeah, it sounds like you're doing everything right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just her. All right.
Yeah. Good stuff.
I did see a post on your Instagram. Did you do some work with the Rattlesnake Conservancy?
Yeah. I'm one of their certified instructors. So I'm one of the only ones in the Northeast. I don't know anyone else who's certified up here. And I offer the class through Riverside. So Anytime they have a class, we try to do it once a year. There's a really high demand for the class, so they're trying to get me to teach it twice a year, but it's a lot of time investment for me to do it. So yeah, but I teach the classes. It's fun.
How long are because I've seen them. They did some locally here. It's been a couple of years, but I think it was like maybe a weekend long thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is it usually like a more than one day kind of class that people are taking? And then what's the typical class size with that?
The sizes can vary for me because it's just me teaching it. My boss is allowed to be my assistant, but I'm the one who does the whole class pretty much. So it's a lot of talking by the end of it. I hate my voice. But the first day is just, we go over a lot of material. We just talk about some of the natural history of all of the species that are native to the area. We also talk about safe handling practices, and then I think like snake bites, stuff like that, how to properly have one in your home, how to transport them, like the basics.
So is it more catered towards Connecticut, Rhode Island area animals, like New England area animals, or just crotalids in general, or just venomous snakes in general?
It's for ours specifically, it's for the Northeast ones. It's Connecticut, so we only really go over copperheads and timber rattlesnakes. Mm-hmm. It's the same licensed material as the normal rattlesnake conservancy class for Florida, but we just changed the snakes to what's appropriate for up here.
Excellent.
But then for the second day, that's all handling. So first you start off by taking a quiz to go over everything that you went over the day before to make sure you retained the information. And then you go over, let's see, we start by hooking non-venomous snakes, and then we take out the venomous snakes. And you usually do one small venomous and then one bigger venomous so that you have to double hook it.
Interesting. What do you use for the harmless stuff?
We have a lot of education snakes, so that whoever feels like coming out that day. I have a gopher snake who's pretty big, so I use him for these. I don't know if I've always used him. I've only done the class a handful of times, but he's pretty big and harmless, obviously. And then sometimes I'll use like a king snake for the small one because that's easy to just single hook.
Nice. And then the timber and canebrakes, timbers and copperheads that you're using, is this snakes that are fairly accustomed to being worked with, or is it rambunctious, wily ones?
So I actually decided to use a very rambunctious, wily, wild Western for the last class that I did. And I kind of felt bad because we had a student who, he was pretty confident and he was like, yeah, I want to go first. And I was like, okay. And he took the lid off and he took her out of the bag and she took off. She was not coming back. She was not waiting around. She did not stand her ground and defend herself. She was gone. And so he started to panic. So he was like, what am I supposed to do? And I'm pretty experienced with education. So I very calmly was like, hook her. And so he was just like trying to pick her up. And I was just like, dude, you were scaring the shit out of this snake. You need to calm down.
Yeah. Give
her a second and then try again. And so he was like, okay. Then he finally calmed down, picked her up, put her in the bin, and he was good. And no one wanted to go after that. They were all just like, no, I'm good. Do you want to go? No, I'm fine. Let's do the copperhead again. And I was just like, if you guys want to handle venomous snakes, this is why I took her out. You have to be prepared that a snake is not always going to be perfect and completely placid like this copperhead is. This copperhead has been in captivity her whole entire life. She's going to hook like an angel no matter what you do. Mm-hmm. And she's going to be perfect. And she probably doesn't even want to bite you. So they start with her. And then I took that out. And I think I scared everyone a little bit. But then they realized as soon as you calm yourself down and you try to hook her calmly, and she was a perfect angel. So I actually ended up naming her Sweetheart after that because she did such a good job.
Nice.
I don't know how Phil, I mean, Aatrox, I've talked about it previously. Like I had an Aatrox for a while, and that was definitely a very uncooperative individual. And the more I kept it, I was like, this is actually, in terms of species where you kind of learn, like Phil says, to have plans C through F when A and B, don't work out. Like that animal was perfect for that, because it was always going to do something slightly different each time. Like it was, I never knew if it was going to be one of those days where I could just take it out and it would go into the bucket just fine, or if it was going to be one of those days where it was going to do laps around the cage and then come shooting out. Like it was always different. And I feel like that was a really good species to get that sort of experience with. So I mean, I don't know if you both agree with Atrox sort of being a good species for that kind of thing.
Yeah, for that kind of thing, I think it's sure, because it always, I'm gonna say it always bothered me, but I was always apprehensive to use a placid animal in demonstration, because the individuals taking, yeah, exactly, an individuals taking a 2-day class, it really doesn't help them to have, like you said, the 5-year-old copperhead that's never seen the wild and always rides a hook. Like, yes, it's great to learn on, and the danger is still there. The mindset is still there, but the odds of a timber rattlesnake being on someone's back deck in Connecticut and just sitting there being a good little boy is probably not going to happen. It's probably going to take off. It's probably going to not ride a hook and be a handful. And I feel like at least them being able to see that is more beneficial than having the, for lack of a better word, the pine snake that just rides 2 hooks beautifully.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah.
And what was the as far as getting certified to do those classes? What was the process like that? Like what was involved in terms of getting to that point?
I had found out about the Rattlesnake Conservancy previously, and I was following them on social media for a while. And I was always interested in taking one of their classes, but they never really had them in the Northeast. So I flew all the way down to, I think it was it South Carolina or North Carolina? Maybe Virginia. No, I think it was Virginia. I flew down to Virginia, sorry. And I took their class, and then I reached out to them immediately after and asked if they could try to host one up in the Northeast. And I think it took her a few days to get back, and she was just like, look, we talked about it, and it just doesn't make sense for us logistically to bring our snakes all the way up there. But what if we taught you how to be an instructor, and then you teach the course? So I went down to Jacksonville, I think it was like a few months after maybe, and you take a week-long class where they go over the material again, but they teach you how to teach it, and they teach you all of the information behind it. So in the course, we go over venom types, but then in the instructor course, we go over how the venoms affect the body, all the different venom types, and the different compositions between all those venom types. And I was able to nerd out because I love that stuff, and how to teach, how to learn about your learning style, students, stuff like that. And we offered it, and it was so popular. We were just like, we have to keep doing this. It's really successful. There's a lot more people in New England who want to learn about venomous than we originally thought. So
very cool.
Do you find it to be a lot of like private sector people? Is it sort of, county wildlife people? Is it kind of a mix of stuff? Who's
definitely a mix? Yeah, I know that every time it's been some students who are working in field work and some professionals who are, it's not necessarily required for their job, but maybe if they do wildlife transport or
it's like CE stuff,
stuff like that.
Yeah.
We've even had paramedics too. And so you never know what you're going to get.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I would be eager to take the instructor course to see what differs from like the stuff I used to teach. And obviously it's knowledge is awesome, and gain as much and always learning more and all that. So I gotta hit up. Is Tony still a part of that? I gotta hit up Tony and see when the next instructor thing is, and see if I can weasel my way into that.
Yeah,
it's difficult in Florida too, because the state has the bond for exhibition, so it's a separate license to exhibit venomous, and then you have to be bonded through the state of Florida. It's $10,000 or whatever it is. So yeah, because they don't want to escape, they don't want an incident. Is there anything like that up by you in terms of like extra insurance or I don't know, business permits or anything like that?
So pretty much the rules are in Connecticut, you can't have anything.
Okay.
And it's, for the most part, it's like that across the board in New England, except there's some circumstances. So the reason we're allowed to have venomous is because we don't issue permits in Connecticut, by the way, so you don't get a formal piece of paper that says we're allowed to have this, which is very frustrating because sometimes when you're trying to purchase from a breeder and they require that you have a physical permit, we're like, we don't have one, and then you can't get the animal. So that has caused issues in the past, especially for transporting across state lines, for example.
Mhm.
So I think you have to have a certain number of hours of education that you do in a certain year or in a given year. And if you meet that criteria and you're also doing exhibition, then you're allowed to have permission. So we basically just have an email from one woman in the state who says, yeah, it's okay, you can have that timber rattlesnake. It all comes down
Wild.
to basically one person.
That's how it always is.
That's kind of how it works for Bill. He's in Pennsylvania and they do, public education stuff, and he's got an alligator or two and some other odds and ends. And in order for him to keep that stuff, they have to log a certain number of hours saying they did educational shows. There's, I guess, a sort of a quota of sorts that they have to meet per, biannually or annually or something. It seems like it's fairly exhausting to keep up with, because you can't stop. You can't just say like, oh, I can't, we're going to take time off and not do shows. Like when you have that stuff and there's requirements like that, you kind of have to keep the ball rolling. But
yeah,
I can see where that would be really frustrating. But
it's also a little frustrating. Sorry. It's frustrating too, just because there's no set list of requirements either. I know for you guys down in the South, I know for some states, I don't know every state specifically, but they have housing requirements. They have to come and inspect, stuff like that.
Mhm.
We don't have that. So I kind of had to come up with our own rules and regulations for ourselves on my own. And my boss had some in place that he decided when he first opened the zoo, but I wanted to put more on. So we have to have like a double lock system with them. I have a radio protocol. I have drills that I run with our team, stuff like that. And it would be nice if the state, I don't know, I guess it's 50-50. I kind of want the state to have that in place in case there's anyone else who wants venomous. But on the other hand, I don't want the state to tell us what to do.
Right.
So it's just, I don't know, you understand.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, you give an inch, they take a mile. So,
Well, South Carolina's about to have some inches taken.
Yep.
Which is weird because they have this proposed bill that just cropped up 4 days ago. While we were recording THP on Thursday, actually, I saw the notification that it just got put on the docket. But they're grandfathering permits for people that have venomous currently, and they're not going to issue new permits after the 90 days that you have to register things if this passes. But then there's housing requirements and certain things you have to do. And so at first when I read it, I was like, I couldn't tell if it was an all out ban or if it was just like a permitting system they were putting in place. Cause I'm not opposed to a permitting system. As long as it's reasonable, like common sense, but that's a finite resource in itself. But after reading it a couple more times over and talking to, Keller about it a little bit, and it looks like it's a grandfathered in permit. And then after that, that's it.
From what I gathered, they basically adopted what the Florida Fish and Wildlife used to call ROC, which was reptiles of concern, which turned into ESC, which was a conditional species essentially. So like, for example, I had a scrub and they're like, okay, you have, and a retic. They're like, oh, you have a scrub and a retic. You're a scrub and retic and you can enjoy them and that's it, but you can't get any more. And then I had one of the snakes passed away and I called my guy to tell him, he goes, oh, by the way, you're gonna have to get rid of it. And then that year, they made everyone who had those snakes, if you weren't an AZA facility or you couldn't prove to the state a series of pre-planned exhibitions of education with PowerPoint presentations as to what you'd be educating,
Yeah.
your permit got yoinked and your animals got taken. So,
yeah. And they also put in a little clause that I won't say little, but it was a section of it that basically said, if you have an animal escape and you do not report it, it is a misdemeanor. Like you are getting in trouble for it, which I was like, we all know where that came from. Thanks, North Carolina.
hey man, it's a felony in Florida now.
Yeah, like they were basically, I don't remember off the top of my head if it was like you had a certain amount of time to report it, and if you didn't, and they found out you were in trouble, you were still in trouble regardless. But basically, it was like, we're not going to punish you as much if you just tell us right away that something's missing. But yeah, there's like some housing stuff. It was fairly basic, locks and in a separate area that's lockable and other odds and ends. But the whole thing at first, I was just very confused. I was like, this reads like it's an all-out ban, but then they're talking about permits and there's $150 fee, and you give them a list of animals and what they are and all that. It was just kind of an odd hodgepodge of things, and it seemed like a lot of things to do for something that was they weren't issuing anything new afterwards, but I'm sure they're making it as difficult as possible for the people that do want to be grandfathered in. And hopefully it doesn't pass. I mean, we'll see. It's we have individuals that aren't doing the community any favors.
Yeah.
So
yes,
honestly, I feel like we're kind of getting to the point where we're sort of fighting the inevitable, at least in South Carolina, because this is the second time within the last 5 to 7 years that legislation has come across the table. So
yeah,
we'll see. But it's frustrating.
it's an uphill battle.
Yep.
It is. It is.
Yeah, the state changed the animal laws in Florida last year, I think it was, where any violation is grounds for revocation. So if I get a misdemeanor crime for not having a sticker on the cage that says danger venomous reptile, they could take away my permit on all my animals. If I get a citation for a dirty water bowl, they could take away all my animals. It's wild. Wild stuff.
Crazy.
Yep.
Is that just for private keepers, or does it apply to zoos as well?
I'm sure it applies to zoos as well on paper, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
So where's the money at?
Yeah, it's very clear who they're targeting.
Of course, yeah. Absolutely. So,
is there a process that sort of guides what you guys choose to bring in terms of stuff that's on display or stuff that you're working with? Are there breeding projects going on? I mean, are the Viridis part of that? Is that?
Yeah. So because I'm the head of animal care, I get to for the most part decide what we get, which is pretty cool. My boss has ideas of what he wants. Like I know he really wants us to get black mambas next. On my list, I have Bushmaster, Rincals, and I really want to get us a white lip python. So those are the next few things that I want. And if I'm allowed to dream, I would also like a Komodo. But those are the next things that I want to accomplish. And the process is pretty relaxed. I just go to my boss and I'm like, hey, what do you think about XYZ? And he'll be like, yeah, okay. I made a decision to send away our Cloudberry, and I was just like, can we get Death Adders? And he was just like, yeah, that would be so cool. Good idea. And then he just ordered them and we got Death Adders. And so it's nice. Like I said, I'm in a really great position. As far as breeding projects, right now I'm working on, besides the mambas, I'm working on pancake tortoises. We did get them to breed.
Excellent.
I've got some eggs, and they are fertilized eggs. So fingers crossed for me, because for the next month, I'm not going to know, is it dead or is there actually a baby in there? I'm not positive. And then let's see. I want to, like I mentioned before, I want to breed our Goody Sapphire and our Balfouri. So those are the majority of the projects I'm working on. We have some rhino iguanas, that we got eggs from last year, but she laid the eggs right under the heat lamp.
Oh.
She had it's an enormous enclosure, but she decided to lay them under the heat lamp. So by the time we got to them, in the morning they were cooked. So this year, I'm hoping we can take a different direction with that. Maybe she'll be a little smarter, and that's all for the immediate future. I've got future plans, but that's what I'm currently working on.
That's good. That's real good. Are you guys planning on going AZA, or are you AZA?
We're not AZA right now. I'm actually trying to get us to be ZAA. My issue with AZA is that
they suck.
I will be as diplomatic as possible in my
Yeah,
answer.
of course.
I think that it's not necessarily an attainable goal for a smaller facility like us. While we have, I think it's over 100 species, and I think it's over, like 330 heads total, not counting colonies and groups for we have like colonies of roaches, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not counting that. And that's a relatively small size in terms of other zoos. You can go through the whole thing in about an hour if you're really trying and you're just kind of going past stuff. So to be AZA, the amount of money that you have to put forward is unbelievable. It's astronomical. Yeah. And honestly, it's ludicrous in my opinion.
It's a racket.
In my professional opinion, it's ludicrous. So you have to pay to have someone come out and inspect your facility. But not only are you paying for them to come out, you're paying all of their expenses. And then once you find out if you're approved or you're not approved, if they have to come out again, if you're not approved, you're paying for that again. And you have to pay to reapply in addition to that. And we're not talking a small fee. I'm talking thousands of dollars just to apply. And I'm pretty sure they have a mentorship program. So you have to be kind of in limbo for, I want to say it's over a year, possibly 2 to 3, but I'm not certain. I never made it down that far once I saw how the hoops they're making you jump through.
Paywall.
Yeah. So as far as ZAA, I've come from ZAA zoos. I've worked in 2 ZAA zoos, and I really like that it's a lot smaller. So when you reach out to them, you can actually get a hold of somebody. And I really like that they offer a lot of educational material, and they allow smaller zoos, and it's not as expensive, which is nice. But they do have a lot of their requirements are pretty much the same as AZA, where you have to have a perimeter fence that's 8 feet tall, a double lock system for class 1 animals, stuff like that. So it's pretty much the same thing, just more attainable.
Mm-hmm.
And if you did go ZAA, does that still restrict you from certain species? Like if you were ZAA, could you still get a Komodo? Could you get tuataras? Or is that purely AZA, big money, as Mike Kosicki says, does the mob run it?
If you put an animal, I think it's in AZA, it's SSP, but I think in ZAA, it's AMP, which is Animal Management Plan or something like that.
Right.
And if you register your animal, then they can make suggestions like, oh, this animal has this genetic line, they should go to this zoo so that they can breed, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But if we decided to become ZAA, which we could tomorrow if I really wanted to, because I already did all the paperwork, I did all of that. We're ready to go. It's just taking that final step. But it doesn't change anything about us acquiring animals, because ZAA has a animal exchange directory on their website, and you can go on there, and if someone's just like, this is what we're looking for and this is what we have, then you can handle it zoo to zoo. So I don't know if that would help us getting a Komodo, because I have not seen a Komodo come up on there, but definitely tuataras are just an AZA exclusive for sure. Yeah. I can imagine. I've only seen a tuatara once, and it was in Australia at an Australia zoo. It wasn't even in the US.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm. I hope I answered that right.
No, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You do a lot of public education, like general public education stuff?
The zoo does, yes. I do not. I'm not part of the education department. they do all of our outreach. They do a lot of programs in-house and outreach going out to other places. And we also have docent work that they do. So anytime someone comes in, it's almost guaranteed that they're going to get a chance to pet an animal. So usually they'll bring a snake or a little lizard or a turtle, something out for them to get a chance to hold and touch. So we have a full staff who does that.
Gotcha. I'm always curious, people that do that kind of stuff, like Bill, who's one of the THN hosts. He does that kind of stuff. You know, it's not his full-time job. It's something him and his family do, you know, on the side. And I'm always so curious for people that do that public outreach stuff. Like, I feel like I would get burnt out really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's because I'm not a big, I won't say antisocial, but I'm not a small talker, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like to me that job would be like pulling teeth. But I mean, I did it for a little bit. Like, I worked at a nature center as my first job, and I enjoyed that. But when you're doing like not necessarily parties, but school groups and things like that, and the kids just, I've seen how rough they get with some of the animals and stuff. I'd be too stressed to be doing that all the time.
Yeah, no, I'm really introverted too. And sometimes it's really hard for me. Like when I want to clean and feed the venomous, for example, they're all on exhibit. So I try to do that on a day where we're closed because I don't feel like having a giant window and a crowd standing behind it watching me try to fight to take this snake out, fighting for my life here, right? And the last thing I want is someone to take a video of me making a mistake or something stupid. So it's a lot less pressure to just do it when we're closed. And if I have to do stuff on the floor, for example, on the main floor where I'm not behind the scenes, I try to do stuff like that while we're closed, before we open or after we close, just because it's a lot easier. But that's just because I'm super shy. And I did used to do the outreach and education. And I agree, it can be really exhausting. I know that it's important, and I do try to engage with our guests as much as I can, but it's that there's a reason I'm not in the education department. It's just a lot. And I think it takes a really special personality to want to see a group of people and be like, oh, I should go get an animal. I should engage with them and have a conversation. And I'm so painfully shy that it's a lot easier for me to just put my nose down, do my work, and happily answer questions if people have them. But I'm here doing something.
Yeah. I mean, especially the venomous stuff. Like, I'm the same way. I don't know how, I mean, Jim Harrison and Carl Barden, you know, they've been doing it so long, they don't even realize that people are there, I'm sure. But like, I don't think I could ever get used to being stared at while I'm doing this, and like not being distracted by what's going on outside of what I'm doing, you know. And I mean, even when I was keeping venomous, if it was cleaning, you know, I had to take an hour or two to clean stuff. Like, my phone was on silent. Like, I didn't even want it vibrating. I didn't want any sort of distraction on me. So I mean, I'm right there with you. If I'm having to clean venomous and stuff, I don't want anyone really around to distract me from what I'm doing with that.
I think it's also distracting for the snake too. Like, I know the big Eastern Diamondback that I mentioned, he doesn't have the best vision, but obviously he still has his heat pits, so he does know something's there. He just, for whatever reason, has terrible aim, can't see stuff that well. And I noticed that if I go in nice and slow and calm, I can hook him out and he's fine. But if there's a mob of people on the other side of the glass and they're right up against the glass and they think it's cool, and I do want them to see that, but at the same time, it makes him nervous. And now I'm nervous because he's nervous and he's acting agitated, and I'm distracted because there's people with their hands and faces right up against the glass. And it's just a lot easier to do it when we're closed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. When we did the classes underground, we had a barrier, and it was basically fish tank stands, for lack of a better word, with like plywood on them. And people, you'd be taking out a cobra, and people would be like, "Hey man, that's crazy. You do this a long time." And like, we always taught everyone, you ignore everyone. The only voice that should be in your head at that moment is your own, unless you hear me yelling at you. Right. And just, you learn to ignore people. And we always made sure that we had multiple other people in the ring with us that were not focused on the animal, because there's been times where you take a cobra out of the container and you put it back in the cage and everything's fine. And as you're locking the cage, you feel a tug on your shirt and there's a 6-year-old kid standing next to you
Oh my
because he
gosh.
just climbed underneath the barrier.
Jesus.
Oh,
And he's like, "Is that a snake?" And he'd be like, "Hey, little buddy, where's mom and dad?
yeah.
We're gonna have a talk with them."
What the fuck are you
Oh
doing
my.
here?
Yeah, but and that's why we always had at least 1 or 2 people that were in our group not watching the snake, watching the ring, watching the area, so that people are dumb. I mean, you
Mhm.
can't blame the little 6-year-old, but I can blame the parents.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. I think out of all of the years, so we opened our doors in 2020, and that's when I started working with the current Venomous collection. And so it's been 5-ish years. And the whole time I have been working with them, formally cleaning everybody once a week, let's say. I've only had one time where I was taking out one of the cobras and these kids started to run over and the dad was just like, "Whoa, give her some space. You can watch, but step away from the glass and don't distract her because she has to pay attention to what she's doing."
that's
And
awesome.
I know, and I was just like,
Finally
"Oh my
somebody
gosh." Yeah, it has only happened once. And to this day, I still remember that dad. And I'm like, "You are awesome, dude."
Nice.
Mhm.
That's cool. That's cool. I was waiting for it to be like, "Oh yeah, it's Terry Phillip," or "Oh, it was Mark O'Shea," or something like that.
No, that would be really, if it was Mark O'Shea, I think I would not be able to focus on the snake at that point.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just even from if you go to Walmart now, seeing how just completely the lack of self-awareness overall when you're in the
Mhm.
like just general public, it's astonishing. And it's like people, you go to anywhere, you go to the zoo, you go to the reptile expos, like parents got kids, they're not even paying attention to them. The kids are on like the other side of the freaking convention center, and it's like, what is going on? Like, this isn't a fucking daycare, man. Like, someone's gonna snatch your kid up.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen to them? Like, and then it blows my mind that people are just that blissfully just unaware of what's going on around them and complete lack of situational awareness and stuff. It drives me nuts.
Going back
Yeah.
to the kids on the other side of the glass and animals on display and stuff, have you noticed a difference in behavior with the amount of cell phone usage in terms of flashes and IR lights and just cell phones constantly in animals' faces? Have you noticed any difference in behavior or anything like that?
I think that I don't see that as often. No, I know that when people come into the center and they ask if they can take pictures, for the most part, our staff at admissions, they always say, "Please, no flash."
Right.
And our animals pretty much ignore people. They're pretty used to it, unless it's like the monitors, for example, who they see people and they want to engage with them. Pretty much everyone else just ignores the humans. And definitely the animal care staff, we are really aggressive. If we do see someone annoying an animal or harassing it with pictures or anything like that, we are right there in an instant, and we're just like, "No, you need to give this animal some space." And I have no problem telling someone, "Please don't knock on the glass." And if they continue to do it, I will go out and I will speak with them in person. And I think my go-to is, "Oopsies, that's my friend. You're bothering him. Please give him some space." That's the best PR I can muster in that moment. But otherwise, no, I don't usually see that. People surprisingly do tend to be very respectful.
That's great. It's good to hear.
Good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Very
Is
interesting.
there anything that's a sort of a crowd favorite?
Animal wise, we have a big Asian water monitor. He's not even that big. I think he's only like between 4 and 5 feet. So he's not the biggest.
Mhm.
And he is such a ham. He has this branch that goes over his pond, and he loves to hang on the branch by his back feet and then body splash into the water and then climb back up the branch and do it again. And guests love that. So he's definitely one of the favorites. And we have an Aldabra who's like mid-sized, and a mid-sized sulcata. People really like them too because they think they're big, even though they're not that big in the scheme of things.
Yeah.
Those are the favorites. And then our anacondas, we have 2 pretty big ones that people really like.
Very cool. What are they
Mhm.
in? Do you have them in a water feature or?
Both, yeah. It's a half water feature, half land. So when you walk in from my side, you walk in onto the land area, and then on the far end, it's not that big. It's maybe like 10 feet by 10 feet, I'd say.
Yeah.
And they have like 3 feet of water, but it goes along the back half. So
Does it
it's
have
nice.
glass so people can see underwater?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, but you know what that also means? It means that they can see when they shit in the water very well, up close and personal. And sometimes the female is a little dicey when I go in there. So I don't always clean it out right away because I'm just like, I just don't feel like getting stalked right now, hanging over the water's edge with a
Right.
hungry green anaconda. And so you just see little floaters sometimes. It's
You got to get
really
like a giant turkey baster and just suck them out real quick.
Yeah, we do have a really long, we call it the poop spoon. It's, I
Nice.
know it doesn't need much more description than that.
Yeah,
It's
that's
very long, and I use that. Sometimes I use that for the mambas, but otherwise you can use that for the big snakes if you don't feel like dodging them.
nice. I'm just imagining you with like a pool skimmer, you know?
That's basically it, but it's one of those pasta spoons where it has holes in it, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, it's just taped on the bottom.
A strainer.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Oh.
Oh man.
Is there a protocol as far as working with the larger constrictors like that too?
Yes. So it's just the owner of the business, Brian, and myself. We're the only ones who do them, and we always do them as a pair.
Mhm.
And I am teaching another keeper right now how to handle them because it can't be just the two of us always. So
Right.
we have one girl who's in training right now, but then otherwise it's just me and Brian, and we're the only ones who can do them. Yeah.
Very interesting. And I saw
We should have more in theory because they're so big, but that's what we have for now. So
yeah. How big are they, you think?
I know that our female, gosh, I don't remember how much she was when we weighed her. I want to say, am I crazy to say she was 50 pounds? No, you know what? No, I'm sorry. I think she was like 30 pounds. So it's not.
So 10 foot plus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The male is smaller, but he's the one who definitely, if he would definitely bite me if he had a chance. The female is a sweetheart. She's a perfect angel, but she is definitely the one who, if she grabbed me, she's not letting go ever.
Yeah.
So I'm cautious with her because she also has weird body language. I mean, I can read a snake's body language pretty damn well, but she's so creepy. She does the long, slow tongue flick, and I'm like, can you give me any more body language? Yeah, I don't like when you do that. But she's a sweetheart. She's completely fine. When you take her out, anyone can go up and pet her. And we actually had to draw blood on her not too long ago. We didn't even restrain her. She was a perfect angel.
Nice.
So then we have 3 retics, 1.2. The 3 of them live together. And I want to say our big female is about 14 feet.
Okay. So. Not bad. Mm-hmm. They're regular, normal looking retics?
One lavender phase, and the other 2 are tigers.
Okay. Very cool. Is that something that you're going to look forward to breeding? Because, how do I phrase this? I know a lot of educational facilities are looking to breed big constrictors now because of the whole crossing state lines thing and whatever else. I know that's why a lot of people got out of them in Florida because they couldn't keep them in Florida and they couldn't sell them out of Florida. So is that something you guys are looking at or no?
No, we have bred them before, but Connecticut is so small. There's not a lot of other zoos. And quite frankly, I don't think they're really even interested in them. And no one in Connecticut is allowed to have retics anyway. Okay. So we did breed them once before, and I say it was an accident, but we put a male in with a female. So I don't know what we were expecting to happen, but he did the thing, and we ended up with eggs one day, and we made the decision to leave the eggs in there with the female so that guests could see them and learn about them. The majority of our demographic tends to be during the weekdays, a mom with kids. And most moms don't really like snakes at all, especially the big ones. But when every mom who came in, once we had those eggs on display, I kid you not, every single mom somehow just connected with this snake. And they were like, oh, she's a mom. I've got babies. And I guess it's just like once you have one thing in common with your enemy, now you're not enemies anymore.
Yeah.
Every mom who came in suddenly just loved the retics and thought that they were cool. And we made a sign that said, our retic right now, she's on eggs. We are going to take them away from her at some point. And retics are very good moms. They stay with their eggs, that kind of thing. Just anthropomorphizing.
Sure,
and it worked. So then the thing is, we were pretty sure that those eggs were not good. They turned black. They were wrinkly and gross. And we were like, they had flies. We were like, all right, we haven't been taking care of these eggs. This is her first time. These are going to be terrible. So we took them off of exhibit. And sure enough, they were very healthy eggs. And every single one of them hatched. And we were like, what the hell do we do with all these retic babies? So that was fun. But we did find homes for them, and we're never breeding them again. He's not allowed. Not allowed anymore.
Fair enough. That's a great story, though. It's so cool to see like the moms connecting,
Yeah, very unexpected too, because when you're behind the scenes, you can still hear what the guests are saying, and it gets really tiring hearing all the time, like, oh, that's a snake. Oh, look, it's so big. It's so creepy. And it's like, well, you came to a reptile zoo. What were you expecting?
You knew what you were walking into when you walked through the door.
Yeah, and I know that people want to see turtles, so I am trying to make us very turtle heavy. And people really love the monitors, so I'm trying to put more monitors out there. But I love the snakes, and I want the snakes. And some people do come specifically for the snakes, so they have to be there. And it was just, I did not hear a single mom say anything bad about the retics the whole time we had those eggs out. So I don't know.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Jeff Frederick said, y'all have a king cobra, right? Ethically breeding your own feeders.
Hey, there you go.
We did not do that, although I would be lying if I said that it didn't cross my mind. So.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
Play the old Henry Martinez.
Yeah, most definitely, bro. Most definitely. Oh God. Man, if Henry could have an army of Burmese pythons just to make cobra food, he would. He would have a warehouse filled with Burmese breeders just to make cobra food.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Do y'all have a fly river turtle? Jeff Frederick asked.
Yes, we do. His name is Buddy. He's very cute and he loves attention. I trained him to eat from my hand. He jumps out of the water, but he sticks his head out of the water to eat from my hand because I put a giant gourami in with him, and she's the same size as he is. She's huge, and she'll actually bite his face to try to get the food out of his mouth. So she'll bite his face, he drops it, and then she eats it. And she's so smart. Every time I feed him now, she does that. So I taught him to stick his head out of the water. I drop food into his mouth, and that's the only way he can eat.
Oh, poor guy, man. Yeah. Poor guy, stupid gourami.
You see, someone at Daytona last year had one. I guess they bought it, and it was in a tank of water, and they were pulling it around on one of those carts or something. It looked like the Pope, going around the show in a little glass aquarium.
Wait, the Fly River or the gourami?
The Fly River.
Oh, okay. People wheeled around a big pink fish in a stroller. That's cool though, man. Is there anything else in the tank besides him and the gourami?
That was it. We used to have loaches in there, but he was trying to dig under his branch, and he actually cut his shell. And it was definitely from the branch because he's done that before. And the loaches would not let it heal. They were just nibbling around the sides of it. So I sent them out. And then I was afraid that the gourami was going to eat the rainbow fish that we had in there. So I sent them out too. And now we just have this very angry fish who's not very nice to the turtle.
Still cool, man. Still cool.
Have you noticed a change in terms of, I mean, you still get the people that come in and are like ill snakes, but have you noticed at all over the last handful of years that you've been there that the public's perception with snakes overall has improved?
I think so, yes. So this kind of goes a little bit back to what I was saying before, how I get to pick the animals that we have on exhibit. I'm able to get real-time feedback on what people are thinking of our animals. And we've actually used some of that feedback to kind of cater our collection to what we think that people would want to see. So when I had the Cloudbri out on exhibit, no one ever commented on them. No one cared. It's just another rattlesnake.
No,
And
Oh
I'm not
God.
mad. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
to be fair, they
Stupid
were
non-herpers.
They were sandwiched between our mambas and our native copperhead exhibit, where we were like, these are the snakes that live near you. So they didn't get a lot of good attention. There was nothing special going on there from the public eye. And so I took them out and I put in the Insularis. And that is one of our most popular exhibits. I hear people saying all the time, wow, this one's my favorite. She's blue. That's so beautiful. She's a baby. I love that. We had 2 Western Diamondbacks on exhibit, and then I mixed it with a Western and a black-tailed, and same thing. No one cared. They didn't care about it. It was just another rattlesnake to them. So I took those guys off exhibit, and then we moved things around, and then I put the Death Adder out. And when we put a sign that says this is one of the fastest striking snakes in the world, then it's cool. Now people like it. They're like, wow, his camouflage is so cool. Look at the striping. This is a really cool animal. So I guess in a way to answer your question, yes, I have seen a shift, but that's because we're making a conscious effort to put stuff in front of the public that we think they're going to care about to help them learn better. Once they make that connection, then they appreciate it way more.
I know I've talked about it a couple times, but like we have that little hognose at work, and it continues to really surprise me how cool people are with him being there. Because I feel like if it were, 20 plus years ago, he would have been gone a long time ago. Like boss would have told us to get rid of him, immediately. But he's actually like, everyone freaking loves that guy, man. Like my boss loves him. Everyone that works there loves him. They don't want to touch him, but they love him. That's cool. Even the customers that come in, like even today, like I had some customers come in there. I was like, is that a snake? And they're like, yeah, that's Wilson. He's a little, Western hognose. And they're like, oh, he's cool. Like I've had, I think 2 people max go like, oh, that's gross.
He's a kazoo snake.
Everyone else has been like, that's really cool. He's neat.
Did you notice that if you have a cutesy name versus a scary name, that it makes the animal a lot more approachable to people?
For sure.
Doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. So I noticed that when I would take an alligator out for education, if I was like, this is Freddy Krueger, that's terrifying. No one wants to come up and pet this animal.
Don't haunt your dreams.
Yeah, right. But if I'm like, his name is Puppy and he's only 3 years old, then people are like, oh, okay, I want to come and pet it now. So I do use that to my advantage. I named our big timber rattlesnake, I named him Stanley because he's a cute little old man. And that's very endearing to guests. So if they're like, wow, that animal looks like he could mess me up, I'm like, oh, that's Stanley. Stanley's a little old man. And now he's a lot less dangerous in their eyes. And
Stanley could put you in the dirt with ease.
Exactly. It still rots your flesh, but he's a cute little old man.
He is dangerous, but
he did a few tours in Nam, Yeah. He's seen a Huey up close, but don't mind him.
He just wants to sit on his porch and yell at people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Don't tread on me.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. What was the locality of the Clobs? Do you know?
The banded rock rattlesnakes are from. I'm trying to remember. If you don't remember, it's fine. I don't remember. I'm sorry.
It's cool.
Yeah, we got rid of them a few years ago.
Damn. Okay.
Sorry.
Any other? Yeah, it's always Franklin's. Always. God bless. I miss my Franklin. I do. Mr. Eastwood. He was such a great snake. Anyway, besides the Mambas and the Pallida, any other African stuff?
I have two Gaboon that I eventually would like to breed, and
Western?
Yeah.
Cool.
The female has bitten the male a few times, so I don't keep them together. I think she bit him like 2 or 3 times, and I was just like, okay, clearly you guys, despite how big this is, it's not working out. So maybe I'll give you guys a few years off and then try and introduce you again. But I have the male on exhibit right now. He's that pretty gray lavender color.
Yeah. And then slate blue.
Yes, he's gorgeous. I think he's really pretty. And then the female, she's a lot more pink toned, which is still pretty, but I like the male a lot better.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and I would really like to breed them at some point. And I'm trying to think what else we have.
When did you get the male?
We got them together. So I don't remember who the breeder was. They were teeny tiny little babies when we got them,
wow.
and we got them. I think they're originally from 2019, if I'm not mistaken.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. No more African stuff.
What kind of Death Adder is it that you guys?
Oh yeah, let's talk about that.
Dajara.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, that's another fangirl moment. I remember I was listening to one of your episodes, and you said that a really good beginner snake is shockingly the Death Adder. And I don't remember. I think your reasoning was just because even though they're very deadly and they're really expensive, they have a really calm personality. And that really put me onto the Death Adder. And I was like, okay, let me see. I mean, I've been obsessed with them for a while, but let me look more into this. And since we've gotten the male, I'm so obsessed with him. He's a really cool snake. And it's such an honor to take him out. And then when he starts doing that thing with his tail, I'm so obsessed with him. He's really cool. So, yeah, he's a joy. He's a joy to handle.
The hypos that P and Cody have.
Yeah, they have hypos.
Yeah. God,
even though Scott says that they're horribly hybridized and who knows what they really are, they're still gorgeous.
I don't care. Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
Good looking snakes.
Yeah, we have the Dajara ones.
Yeah, that's
really,
awesome.
Really interesting group.
Very much so. Very much so.
Oh yeah.
No more reptile regrets. In fact, Sanchez just messaged me about Death Adders, and I went back and found old photos, and I was like, "What was I doing? Why did I get rid of these things?" You know.
Yeah. Did you ever breed any of those, Phil?
No, I didn't keep them long enough to. We were getting them. Man, we were getting Death Adders probably.
Pop one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll call them pop one, but who the hell really knows? I'll say Indo. What's the terminology for the oceanic Australasian oceanic Australasian? Yeah. We were getting them like 3 or 4 times a year. Both different types of lavis, which were probably hindsight probably different species of lavis that just never got described, and rugosus. And I had blue ones, I had red ones, I had crazy tiger stripe ones, and then the rugosus were like this wild spiky leaf litter patterning, and like we just after 4-6 months be like, sell them, new ones are coming, and then they never came back ever again. So yeah,
hindsight's 2020.
I know. What are you gonna do? They got pictures. That's all that matters.
You guys have any rhino rats?
No. Those are on the list. We are interested in putting those out for exhibit, but I have such limited exhibit space that I want more monitors.
I'm convinced. So like those and hog noses for people that aren't into snakes are such good options for like disarming people because that nose and that face is like not snaky, if that makes sense. I've come to find that with the rhinos in particular, like, I mean, hog noses obviously, but rhinos, like people see that and they're like automatically they're like, oh, that's really interesting. Like they're not scared of it anymore. They're now curious because they're like, haven't seen that before. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
What's that for? And then I tell them like, nobody knows. It's just there.
Yeah, you name him Pinocchio and like everyone's good. That's it.
Yes,
y'all need rhinos. That's like the best display snake. Like light years better than green tree pythons because they actually do stuff.
I have been considering taking our Vietnamese blue beauties off of exhibit for no other reason other than I want to put more venomous out on exhibit, but I will keep that in mind should I ever decide to take the beauties off.
How do those do on display?
They did not love it at first. They hated it at first, and they were not the friendliest, but they're very used to it now. And they still go for my eyeballs, but the guests they ignore for the most part.
Mike Kasicki says, Shorty has Barons probably.
I do not.
Shut up, Mike.
Oh, there you go.
Shut up, Nate.
There we go. Talk about blue snakes. Talking about blue snakes.
Yeah, well, we already have the blue snake now. So we have an Insularis, and we also have the white lip viper. It's Albolabris. Yeah, and I had to put them far apart because they're so similar that I was like, I don't want people to think they're the same, just different color. Like this is a different flavor than that one. So she's far enough away that people see her and they're like, oh wow, that's really cool. She looks like a Jolly Rancher. But yeah, so the pretty color snakes, those are the popular ones with guests.
Nice.
Yeah.
Baby trims are damn adorable, man.
They are.
Mhm.
That they are.
Oh, yeah.
We got to get her some Atheris, man.
Yeah.
You got to get some
I
Atheris.
don't know why I'm saying yeah. Like I can do anything about it.
You can. You can.
Can you send me that Chlorecus still?
Dude, that Chlorecus gave me a heart attack 2 days ago.
If I hide it from my wife, can I have the Chlorecus?
Dude, I went to go feed it, and I pick up the tub, and I have the David Brahms perch in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I've ever seen that snake not on the perch ever. I mean, there's all leaf litter. It's perfect for him, and he's on the ground like this, like all kinked over. And I was like, oh no, what happened? And I look at him, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna leave him be. So I misted him. He kind of lifted up. And then I threw a live fuzzy in, and I closed the lid, and I put it away. And I heard like the from the inside. So I was like, what the heck? And I go back. He is carried it up into the perch and is hanging upside down like an emerald tree boa. The coolest thing ever. I mean, the snake's the thickness of my finger. You know what I mean? But it was just cool to see it. I don't know why he was on the ground. Maybe he was just bored. Who knows? But stupid observations we take for granted.
Oh, I hate when snakes do that. I'm just like, why are you laying like that? Are you alive? Hey. And then they're just like, whoa, I was just sleeping.
Yeah. You saw that there was a viral TikTok video of somebody had a really good size home enclosure with a retic, and the retic is like some crazy morph, and it's sprawled out on this branch, but its head is like laying limp sideways.
Oh yeah, I saw that the other day.
And the keeper's like, oh my god, what happened? And like goes and like touches it, and it's like, whoa, and it freaks out and falls on the ground. It's all like cocked back, like what the hell just happened? Very Johnny Depp looking, you know. So.
No, I did not see that, but the Johnny Depp visual sold it.
I mean, legit, that's what it was. It was like, oh man. So, what are they saying in the group chat?
They're talking smack about
they are
and rhinos and trying to say that parents are better.
Yeah.
Jeff, we have enough ball pythons.
Nice
and
try.
I don't want any more.
Burn.
Piebalgs are very beautiful, but no. Simply no. But thank you.
Spoken like a polite venomous keeper.
All the tarantulas that you were telling me about before we started, are those ones that you have there? Are those on display as well?
Yes. Yeah. So we have a bird eater. Don't ask me which kind it was.
At this point, there's like 40 different kinds. So
I think it's a sturmai, just because the guy who surrendered it, he's like, I got it at a reptile expo.
Yeah.
So it was like probably a sturmai.
Yeah.
We have 1.1 of the Pokey Metallicas in separate things. We did have 1.1 Balfouri, but the male was old. Yeah, males. A green bottle blue and is it a Brazilian white knee? And then a fire leg and fiery personality to match it.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think I'm missing anybody. We have a lot of like normal spiders too. Like we have a couple huntsmen. Those are fun. Very fun.
Yeah.
Always an interesting day working with the huntsman.
Is it on is it on display, or like is it just in like a deli cup with duct tape?
You think it's just duct tape? No.
Staple gun shut.
So they are in like an Exoterra style enclosure, but we just have it flipped so that we're accessing it from the back, and we put the piece of bark so that it's leaning up against the glass from the public side so they can still see him even when they're hiding. And when we want to handle them, due to a few incidences, we now put them in this plastic tent and then tape that to the ground, and then we'll manage them that way. Because when you think that you're fast, I promise you are not fast enough. And there's been too many. Literally, it's teleporting. If you've never, like, if anyone, and look, anyone watching this, if you've never seen it in person, go find a huntsman right now and
it's
see
legit teleportation.
Yes,
it's crazy. And what's it? It's a Hoptopoda. What's the genus?
I don't remember.
It's the American one, right?
We have the lichen and the it's not Pacific something. It was a South American species.
Okay.
And I think an Australian species. Where's the lichen from? That could be wrong.
Yeah, Heteropoda. Excuse me.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen like Dylan at 8 Deadly Sins and stuff. He's produced a couple, and the huntsmen have gotten pretty popular as far as people keeping them. I have no real interest in them. We talk about it on Arachner fairly regularly. Like with huntsmen, there's like a whole nother dimension of movement that you're dealing with. As far as like tarantulas, it's kind of like back or forth. With huntsmen, you get like every direction. And they can move laterally. Like there's just this whole
moving
like,
4-dimensionally.
We call it Z-axis.
Yeah.
Yeah, Z-axis. Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun. I like it. I like it a lot. It gets your heart pumping.
Yeah, that sounds horrible. It sounds like a fly swatter and a can of Raid. Any scorpions?
Yes, we do. So we used to have emperors, and we were really good at breeding them for a while. But then we thought we were introducing new genetics, and then it turned out I think they weren't emperors. They were, what's the species that looks just like an emperor, but there's like some really subtle differences?
Candidas?
I think so. But
Red claws?
Yeah, that's what it was. And we introduced those, and then we experienced a pretty big die-off, and then we didn't have any emperors, and now we just have the Candidas, the red claw guys. And we have it's not a death stalker. What is it? It's just as
fat
deadly.
tails?
Yes, they have a fat tail too, and then a desert hairy. The desert hairy, he thinks he's so much bigger than he is, but I think it's very cute. So when you go to give him a cricket and he comes out guns blazing, I'm just like, you're so cute.
Mike Kasicki asked, what monitors were you wanting to expand into?
As many species that I can get in front of the public as possible is what I would like. I think obviously lace monitors are really beautiful, and I would really like us to get a Parenti that is not that far off, because I did speak with a gentleman at an AZA zoo in, was it Dallas? And he said that they had some surplus that they're looking to send out. We don't have the housing for one right now, but that is at the top of my list. And we have 2 black throats, 2 typical Varanus Salvatore. We also have an Emerald Tree Monitor and a Nile Monitor, and he is such a ham. I love our Nile Monitor. He's still really young. We got him when he was a teeny little baby, and he hasn't gone through his adolescent phase yet, so we still love him and handle him daily. And let's see, what else do we have? Oh, we have a little Aki too, so it's nothing crazy, but I'm trying to put as many monitors out there just because people love watching their antics. They love watching them climb around. We are really heavy with our enrichment, so they're always interacting with their environment, digging around and looking for snacks. So yeah, I think people really like seeing them just because there's so much movement, as opposed to some of the snakes or the turtles who are just being sedentary. Yes. They can see them climbing around, and that's nothing specific besides Parenti, I guess.
Need to get some Kims. I still want Kims.
Pilbras.
I don't think I'm going to get Kims anytime soon, but Kims are on my retirement list of like when I'm in a bigger house and actually have the space to do all these things.
Mm-hmm.
Kims are very high on the list there.
Dude, Pilbras, Team Pilbara, and now that Sky's got one, man, I just watched that thing on Instagram and like, oh, the red and the ugh.
I don't know, man. There's something about the Kims that just.
And just to go back, I was wrong. Red Claws is Cavimanus and Velocis. So
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
Cavimanus. Yeah.
That sound is not ringing a bell. That sound, I mean that name, but I do remember someone saying those are red claws, not emperors, and I was just like, yeah, you got me. I didn't even realize.
Just totally, yeah.
And forgive me if you said it, but do you know what kind of fat tail it was?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I know I try to be the scientific name snob at the center, but I can't remember everybody's.
Is it black or is it yellow?
Black.
Okay.
For a fat tail.
Probably a bicolor, right?
Being bicolor or any number of
Brassicata or some species that just hasn't been named yet.
Mauritanica or Judaica or okay. I'll stop.
Well, we have been wanting to get a Death Stalker to put out there. They're really hard to display, and we have got it down to a science. We've been able to do it with the other species that we have, but I just feel like a Death Stalker is just going to hide, and it'll be really hard to display him too.
You got to do ant farm technique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like you got to have it where it looks like it's sand, but it's only like 3 millimeters deep, and then wherever your fake rock is, have it go down, almost like when the zoos have naked mole rats and they're underground with like the red light. You do the same ant farm technique, and you'll always see them.
You know, what would be really cool with that would be dune scorpions.
Oh yeah,
Would be perfect, especially if you just let them dig and do their own thing, like with a thinner, setup, like an ant farm kind of style thing. That dune scorpion would do all kinds of cool stuff in that.
Yeah, just fill it full of sand.
That is kind of what we have already. It's not fully ant farm style, but we do have it so that it's dug down in the front on the glass side for the guests, and then usually some kind of hide covering it so they think they're hiding from you. And that's how we have the 3 species on exhibit right now. But it's very deep substrate, so sometimes they like to rearrange the furniture and make their own hides, and it's just like, why are you under your water dish when there's a perfectly good cave right there? But yeah, I could try that.
Yeah,
it's a good idea.
Ants are Formicaria are a whole nother rabbit hole that I keep myself from going down, because
I want to go down it.
Some of the stuff people are doing, like I think there's an account called like Ants Canada or something.
Yes.
And they've got a bunch of different species of ants. I'm just like, that is.
Listen, man, I said it once, I'll say it again. If I didn't have any animals, I would have a bomb ass horn toad exhibit and feed it ants with like the fake ant mound.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But like if that was the only animals I had, you know what I mean? It'd be cool as hell.
That'd be very interesting. Yeah, I have seen that before. I think Zoo Miami has something similar to that with the fake ant mound. I'm pretty sure it's Zoo Miami. I remember seeing it on social media. And you can see they have, it's like a cup disguised, and then there's the thing up in the middle, and the ants can go up and down. Yeah.
I think Luke Myers, he works at, I think, the LA Zoo. And they've got some horn lizard projects, and so he posts some stories periodically, and I'm always so freaking jealous, because they've got like Mangshams and like
so cool
Kaznikovi and like all kinds of just really cool stuff that I'm so jealous that he even gets to be in the same room as it. But seeing those horn lizards every time, I think they managed to produce some, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh wow
yeah.
I remember
like, damn it, dude, it's so cool.
Doc Julander was telling me that they had cornutum at the university years back, and they would get the ants frozen in the test tube vial, and then they had the fake ant mound, and then what they did is they literally would just unscrew the cap of the vial and slide the vial in the ant mound, and as the ants thawed and came to life, they would just naturally come out.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
Yeah.
So supposedly there's a population up in Charleston
of cornutum, right?
I think so. And it's on Sullivan's Island, and I keep wanting to go up there just to to see if I can happen to find some. Somehow they got introduced back in like the 40s or 50s. I forget why. I think probably military transplants or something. But yeah, for years I've heard that there's like a population up there now, and I'm curious as to what species they're eating. Because I mean, we have some of the larger species of ants, but I don't see them nearly as much as I used to as when I was a kid. But it would be cool if we could find a spot up there to just go and see some. Maybe I'll have to hit up INAT and see what it has to say. But
I was on Florida has this horrible app called I Got One, and it basically is Florida Fish and Wildlife's way of duping the public into giving up locations of invasive species. Yeah, brothering invasive species. And almost all the sightings are very, very old, like decades old. And when you scroll down the list of invasive species, the stuff that's on there is so outlandish that you know that it was either mistaken identity or completely fabricated. And Texas horned toads are in 2 sightings, one in like the cane fields outside of Belglade, which doesn't make any sense at all. And the other one is in downtown West Palm Beach. And then when you actually click the file and open it, the first one in the cane fields was from like 1968. And then the other one in downtown West Palm was like 1952. So it's like, how are you?
You know, there's a whole group of dudes just trolling that app.
Yeah.
Posting the wild stuff they can find just to mess with FWC.
And what's crazy is there's no pictures because it's so old, but under like the verification section, it says verified by museum specimen. So clearly someone labeled the jar wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Okay.
I'll bet you that app's an absolute anomaly.
Dumpster fire? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
The stuff you people find down there.
Well, and like what's crazy is a bunch of sightings on that app. I mean, sorry to go down this rabbit hole, but a bunch of sightings of this app happen to be located in or around 20 or 30 yards of a wholesaler. And the people that are listing it are people that I know shop at the wholesaler. So what the fuck? I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Almost like a lost and found app at that point then.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Something fishy is going on.
Yeah, always in Florida. So. Well, kids, we're at the 2-hour mark.
Oh, wow.
Is there anything else you want to touch base on, Justin?
I don't think so. I had something else a minute ago, but it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I can't remember.
If people want to find you, what's the best way that people can get a hold of you?
Social media. I'm on Instagram a lot. So I think that it's EmmaLee Maggie 110 or something like that. Or you could come to the center and visit. It's in Connecticut in Enfield, Riverside Reptiles. Come and find me. I did go on a whole monologue while you stepped away, Phil, and I talked about how I'm very introverted. But if you say hi, I promise I will say hi back, and I'd be happy to show you around and answer any questions. So
Excellent.
Yeah.
And where can people find the podcast?
The podcast.
Podcast.
So we stream on YouTube, and we also stream on Facebook too. So under the Turtle Room.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this episode, as well as many others, brought to you by blackboxcages.com. Check them out, Facebook, Instagram. Use the code THN25. If that doesn't work, try THN24. If that doesn't work, hit us up. We'll figure it out. And then fulviusapparel.com. Hats, shirts, mugs, all kinds of stuff. Use the code THN at checkout. Get 15% off of the order. That is the exclusive promo code for THN listeners and viewers like you. And then Cold-Blooded Caffeine, best coffee around. Whether it's the Snakes and Stogies blend or many of the other offerings they have, you will not be disappointed. Whether it's coffee or the accoutrement required, they've got it. Check them out. Arachnerds is happening Thursday, like I said. Flippin' Tin is coming back Thursday.
Yeah.
Well, so be on the lookout for that. Flippin' Tin will be live. Arachnerds will not be. And then business as usual the week after that. So we'll see everybody when we see you.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I was
Bye.
gonna say, where is it, Phil?
I didn't know you were gonna say something more. Goodbye.
Nope. I was waiting on you.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Now my mouse won't work. Time out.
Convenient.
We got it. We got it.